Do complex legal issues hold you back? Let's get energized and bring clarity to your top legal questions. This is Law Talk with the Flock by Goosmann Law Firm.
Hello, I'm your host, Jeana Goosmann, a CEO, lawyer, author, and woman business owner, here to help navigate you through the law, your business, and life as a leader. I have with me today my partner, Barry Sackett, who is also a founder of the South Dakota Blockchain Institute. Barry is working on some hot issues on blockchain, and I'm very excited to have him on today to share some of what's going on with all of you. Barry, welcome.
Thanks, Jeana. Very excited to talk to you today about some issues that are pressing in South Dakota and what we're facing here.
You bet. So I know that you have been working with the group on trying to get some legislation in place. The governor's been setting some vetoes. There's an Institute Friday. So before we dive into all of that, talk a little bit about the South Dakota Blockchain Institute. Why was it formed and who's a part of it?
Yeah, so it's a couple years old at this point. It really kind of started, we had a subcommittee in the Bar Association that was looking at digital asset legislation, and I was a part of that. And I went out to the people in the industry in the state of South Dakota and said, hey, what issues are you facing? What do we need to be aware of? And quickly realized that they didn't really have a voice or anybody that was bringing that together. And so as a result, a number of those folks kind of got behind us. We looked to some other organizations around the country that have done the same thing. We're now part of the Blockchain Coalition, which is a coalition of 38 states with similar organizations, and what they're doing on a state-by-state basis on legislation and regulation relating to blockchain technology, and certainly that also impacts digital assets, or as a lot of people would know it, by cryptocurrency.
Awesome. So Barry, as a business leader and a business attorney, I know that we have a number of clients that are active in this space in a whole host of different ways. You're involved in the Blockchain Association as a founder, and then now it's great to hear too as part of this larger coalition. What are some of the key things that you all are working on and want to see happen in the industry?
Well, in South Dakota, we have been progressive on financial in financial areas in the past. Particularly, there's a lot of credit card companies who are based here, and then our trust laws have been very favorable to encourage people to come and set up trusts in South Dakota and create a large trust industry. So there's over 180 different trust companies that have offices here. Those folks have certainly had digital assets which they take care of. And so they're most concerned about getting regulation to know that they're properly custodying digital assets and making sure that they have those things titled right and they're holding their keys in a number of those issues. So that's really been our focus in South Dakota, is to help our trust industry to make sure that they're in a place that they can hold assets. The bankers are also concerned about that. They've got assets that have come forward. But then the entrepreneurs that are here in the state that are working hard to develop new financial products and other things, exchanges, hedge funds, and utilizing blockchain technology in our other industries, particularly agriculture.
It's so interesting from a higher level. I think I'm very pro-business, and a lot of times you think of pro-business being anti-regulation, right? You don't want the government coming in and telling you what to do, how to run your business. And in many ways, that's also why South Dakota is so pro-business, right? Is there's a lack of law or a lack of case law, anti-regulation. But the flip can also be true, especially in an emerging market, is if there's new technology and you're not sure how it's going to be regulated, there's old laws on the books. Do those apply? Do they not apply? Who is regulating this? the uncertainty can actually be bad for business. So can you talk a little bit about how that concept may be applying to what you're discussing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure people have seen in the news that there's been some big controversy around large digital asset holdings and exchanges, FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried and some of those areas. But really, the folks that are operating in this area and see the potential of digital assets to improve the way that we do transact business and other things want regulation to help define who's in charge of this, because right now a lot of people want to be in charge of this. How do we hold on to these assets? How do we bank these assets? Which means how does a commercial or a traditional bank deal with these assets when they're making an exchange or they're lending against them? And so what happened over the last 3 years is the Uniform Commercial Code Commission, which makes what we call the UCC, which anybody in business will recognize, is a way banks are able to lend against other assets, made a separate article, Article 12, that deals specifically with digital assets and how those digital assets can be secured in a lending transaction or transacted in a business situation. So that bill that came out in the last year, and it was put before the South Dakota legislature. It was put forward by the Banking Association. It was backed by the Trust Association. It was backed by the Credit Union Association. It was backed by the Bar Association. Really, everybody that had a stake and an understanding of this bill was behind it. And it got through the House and the Senate and was presented to the governor. Unfortunately, she vetoed it. It wasn't to go into effect until 2024. But these kind of bills, you want to give them a lot of lead time in order to make sure that the banking organizations can get their processes in place when a law changes. We're hopeful that we can get it pushed through in the next session, and certainly keep that in front of the governor. We've had conversations with her office, and we're very hopeful that will happen. But one thing that we have, and I might kind of beat you to the punch on this question, but we have the South Dakota Blockchain Institute Summit in association with Dakota State University scheduled for this Friday. And we'll have the stakeholders from around the state in all of these different areas come together. Hopefully, we're also going to have some of the people that drafted the UCC involved, so that we can make sure that everybody in that room understands this bill and is able to communicate to legislatures and the governor's office and the general public what it means and what it doesn't mean, because a lot of what came up against it didn't really have anything to do with the bill itself. It was kind of other noise that didn't relate to what was being put forward.
Well, I know Dakota State is a wonderful technology university in the state of South Dakota. So it's wonderful that they're involved and you're holding it there and bringing the bright minds together from academia and drafters and all that to get the right stakeholders to have a great discussion about how should this be handled. Because when there is so much uncertainty, it also can create fear, I think, in the market. And you see big headlines and failures and people getting scammed out of this and that. But the technology is here. We need to learn how to deal with it in order to have a good business. And I certainly know that's what everybody wants, is good business being done.
That's right. Yeah, the dam is broke. It's coming, and so are we going to be ready for it when it comes, or are we going to be reactive to it when it comes? So certainly the attorneys at Goosmann are aware of that and are educating themselves. It's great working with DSU. They've given us a whole class that is focused on blockchain that are going to participate on Friday and have worked through some definitions and some other things. Their professors are at literally the international cutting edge of cybersecurity, and certainly cybersecurity is a big part of how to make sure you're safely transacting digital assets. And so really excited to have that relationship. They're building a new headquarters in Sioux Falls, and we hope to be really right front and center in that organization. And then the other people in this industry that are doing a lot and working hard to make sure that South Dakota is a safe place, looking at insurance products that are backed by blockchain, and also that look at blockchain transactions to help ensure those transactions. So really exciting time, and glad to be a part of it.
Outstanding. Well, thanks for sharing your insight today, Barry. For our listeners, go make it worth it.
Thanks for joining us for Law Talk with the Flock by Goosmann Law Firm. We hope you feel energized and ready to soar past your goals. Become a Flock fan and subscribe to our podcast for weekly episodes. Learn more at goosmannlaw.com.